Hi guys, we continue our discussion of the book Arthashastra, written by Chanakya 2300 years ago, and we are discussing the Varna system. And in this video we discuss Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras. I'll upload it in separate videos as parts. So we start with Brahmins. Two kinds of Brahmins are distinguishable in the text. These are still, we haven't gone into the exact words written by Chanakya himself. This is kind of a discussion phase by the translator Mr. L.N. Rangarajan. He was a retired IFS officer, ambassador to various countries. But these sections that are paraphrasings written by L.N. Rangarajan is very important to listen to or read if you do buy the book. I hope you buy the book. Otherwise you won't understand the concepts discussed by Chanakya himself, because the construction of the phrases, paragraph, sentence have changed so much that we need L.N. Rangarajan's explanations beforehand. So Brahmins. Two kinds of Brahmins are distinguishable in the text. The Shrotriya, the very learned ones, experts on the Vedas, and the others. The Shrotriya was entitled to even greater respect and privileges than Brahmins in general. Let's underline this. The Shrotriya. Shrotriya. The king had to give priority to dealing with their affairs, only those of temples, hermits and heretic ascetics taking precedence over the Shrotriya. When receiving them, the king had to get up, salute them and take care not to make them angry. A prince unjustly treated by his father may secretly rob temples, but not those of the Shrotriya. Their property could not be appropriated by the state in times of emergency. The king, who took over all intestate property, not interstate. The king who took over all intestate property could not do so with that of Shrotriyas. When settling virgin territories, Shrotriyas were given, free of cost and taxes, land which they could bequeath to their heirs. A Shrotriya could take salt free and gather fruits, flowers, rice and barley for ritual purposes from crown lands, crown meaning the emperor's lands. Wardens of lodging houses were to give them accommodation, probably free of charge. Debts owed to a Shrotriya ranked next only to that owed to the king, and he was entitled to payment before all other creditors. They could be called as witnesses only in cases which concern their own groups. As regards the Brahmin in general, the high position of the Varna is shown by some index which will come much later, which list kings of yore who perished because they either lusted after Brahmin women or used violence against Brahmins. The Purohita, the king's chaplain, advisor and preceptor, occupied a position next only to the immediate family and wielded great influence over the king. Brahmins were also appointed as ambassadors because they were more immune than other envoys from the wrath of the king to whose court they were sent. Why was that? So remember that point. If the Brahmin was sent to Islamic Arabia, he would be dead. So they were treated not as viciously in neighboring states, because the entire country called India or Bharat, that entire country was a civilizational state and everyone lived according to dharma. So when a king annexed another king, or when a king sent a Brahmin to negotiate with other kings, they were not going to kill the Brahmin, because the Brahmin is equally respected in the neighbor kingdom as well. Immune than other envoys. On the eve of a battle, the king entrusted himself to Brahmins. Acts of God like fire, floods and pestilence could be overcome by propitiating gods and Brahmins. They could not be captured as war booty. Brahmins are included in the list of persons whose affairs judges themselves should look into, even if they did not approach the court. No suit of theirs could be dismissed for lack of jurisdiction or passage of time or adverse possession. Land given as a gift to Brahmins could be sold or mortgaged only to Brahmins similarly placed. They were not to be compelled to participate or contribute to village festivities if they did not want to. If a Brahmin had only one son by a Sudra wife, 2/3 of the property was to pass on to his kinsmen, teacher or pupils, that is, other Brahmins, and only 1/3 to the son. This was presumably on the grounds that the son born of a Shudra mother could not perform the rites for his father. A sonless Brahmin, a Brahmin who didn't have a son, could perpetuate his line by getting his wife to bear a son, Kshetraja, or born on the field, with the help of a kinsman or a man of the same gotra. Torturing a Brahmin, particularly a Srotriya, was prohibited, whatever the offense. Anyone doing so was punished with the highest standard penalty. Even for the most serious offense of treason, for which the punishment for anyone else was death by burning, the punishment for a Brahmin was reduced to blinding. Brahmins could travel on the ferries free of charge. Making them pay was a punishable offense. Since their special function was celebration of rituals, elaborate rules are given for sharing the fees when a number of them concelebrate. Any priest who had indulged in a sinful activity could be expelled from a ritual. A Sudra passing himself off as a Brahmin was punished with the blinding of both eyes, and anyone violating the sanctity of a Brahmin's kitchen had his tongue rooted out. These two verses are considered by J.J. Mayer to be interpolations. Brahmins could take up arms but were not considered very good soldiers because an enemy could win them over by prostrating himself before them, and an exclamation mark is even given. The one disadvantage they suffered from was that, unlike others, they could not claim ownership of a building neglected by the owner after living in it for 20 years. Everyone else could.